Howdy remarketing fans and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to talk about another interesting way of defining remarketing audiences inside your Google Analytics account. Up until now we've been primarily talking about defining audiences based on your specific data, based on your specific business, based on how you understand your customers. And of course, that is the most essential and most important way of defining remarketing audiences, which is how we've been doing it up until now. But there's a really handy tool that Google Analytics has built into the Google Analytics platform called the Google Analytics Solutions Gallery. The Google Analytics Solutions Library is an open source platform that allows any user to upload different sorts of dashboards, engagement packs, audience definitions, so on and so forth, that are able to be shared across different Google Analytics accounts. So let's go take a look at how we would import a list of remarketing audiences from the gallery and how we might use that in our own account. So we're going to jump over into the admin section. Once again, find our audience definitions, go to audiences. And now instead of clicking on new audience like we've done in the past, we're going to click on import from gallery, which is this option right over here. Importing from the gallery presents us with a lightbox popover that gives us a pre-filtered list of anything that has to do with remarketing audiences, or what they call audience definitions. The Google Analytics Solutions Gallery, if we were to actually go to the gallery, this would be a really cool resource for you guys to check out on your own time. You could import different types of dashboards, custom reports, segments, all this different cool stuff that's uploaded by really experienced and professional Google Analytics users. But for our purpose, we're going to stay right in this screen over here. Each item in this list is another set or pack of remarketing audiences uploaded by a Google Analytics user. By default, this list is sorted by popularity, as we could see over here, but you have the option to sort it by the latest, highest rated. You could filter by ranking. You could take a look at different categories. But what I want to show you is how it looks when we actually import some of these audiences. Beneath the name of each audience, you have how many stars it's been rated. You have how many users have downloaded it or how many users have imported it. And you have a small snippet describing what is going to come in this audience pack. If we were to click on the name of the actual audience, it's going to load a more detailed page with a longer description. It'll show you an actual screenshot if you go ahead and click on the screenshot. But what we're going to do here is download this engagement pack, core remarketing lists by Dan Stone from the Google Analytics team. It's a great place to start, and Dan Stone usually uploads. He has a bunch of different remarketing audiences that he's uploaded, which are really awesome to check out. So as we see here in the description, we're going to get 20 lists based around user engagement, and that's going to allow us to re-engage differently with your users based on important behaviors like recency, frequency, visit duration, and page depth. Okay, great. There's a whole bunch we could continue going on and on about all the different elements that are going to come in this audience pack. We see it has a 4.6 out of 5 star rating from the community, and all this different additional information, comments, so on and so forth. But let's kind of jump past all that stuff, and let's go ahead and click on import. Before we're actually able to import it into the account, we have to select the view. So we're going to go with all website data, and down below we're going to select our AdWords account. This is a very similar process we go to when we create a new remarketing audience inside our Google Analytics Audience Builder. Once we select the account we want this to be associated with regards to AdWords, we have the ability to deselect any of the specific audiences that we might not want in our account. So for example, I see this title of this audience is visited in the last 540 days. Okay, so personally I don't see any use for that audience. I'm not going to bother importing it. Engagement pack visited greater than 10 minutes, greater than 1 minute. All right, so I'm not really interested in tracking people who have visited more than 1 minute. That might be something that your business may want to track. I also don't really think I'm going to be tracking too many people who visited for more than 60 minutes, so I'll deselect that. And let's go ahead and import the rest. And we'll go ahead and click create to start the import process. Depending on your browser speed and connectivity, this might take a couple minutes. For me, this process takes around 30 seconds usually, but let's just see what happens. So as you can see, my Google Analytics audiences screen, my audiences menu has now been filled with all the different audiences that came imported from this engagement pack, it's called. You may have noticed that our original remarketing audiences are no longer showing up in this menu list, and we could see all of them at once if we wanted to show rows and click on 25. It'll show us all our remarketing audiences, 1 to 22 out of 22. This list is sorted by name. We could sort it by date created. We could kind of modify and sort these columns in all different ways, just like an AdWords column or any other data column in analytics. But the cool thing is that not only are we able to already use any of these audiences in our AdWords remarketing campaigns, which we're going to get to really soon, I promise, we could also edit and modify any of these audiences just like any of the other audiences that we've created using the Google Analytics Builder. So for example, let's take a look at this first one, engagement pack, conversions greater than 0. And let's click on the name, and we're going to go into the regular audience definition menu. And of course, as you know, by clicking on the pencil icon, we have the ability to launch the audience builder and see exactly what's going on inside this audience. So this is a goal completion conversions is greater than 0. So this audience is set up by default to track anybody who's converted with any of our goals. Okay, so it's filtering users that include goal completions per user is greater than 0 or transactions per user is greater than 0 if we're tracking e-commerce transactions. I could go ahead now and use any of these other parameters to make combinations or further qualify this audience. Once again, I could set up traffic source. I could set up anything within the technology menu. And then if I were to make any edits, I would click apply and then maybe rename my audience to reflect the different changes that I've made. Let's go back to the audience pages for a second. Let's take a look at one more of these other audiences. So we have engagement pack returning visitor. We go ahead and we go into editing this audience, and we see that their condition setup is that the user type exactly matches returning visitor. This is one of a couple different ways you could set up a returning visitor's condition. You could also have that users that have more than one session, whatever it may be, but Google Analytics will automatically label a returning visitor as appropriately called returning visitor. So this is a default audience setup. And once again, we can go ahead and start combining this audience with further parameters by adding sequences, traffic sources, date of the first session, however you want to modify this audience for your business. The main takeaway point with importing audience packs from the gallery is that you have a really good place to start. Some of you might be confused, you might be a little bit overwhelmed. Where do I start with building these remarketing audiences? Well, downloading this engagement pack right here is an excellent place to start. You're coming out of the box with 20 excellent base remarketing audiences, and you can then further use those remarketing audiences to modify and tweak and narrow and be more accurate in how you're defining and how you're filtering these users to be used in your AdWords campaigns. Let me show you one more really cool audience pack that I like. We'll go ahead and click on import from gallery again. And we're going to scroll down to the channels pack, intermediate remarketing list. This is another one I highly, highly recommend. And I'll go ahead and click import. We're going to be once again presented with our configuration menu, and we'll select our AdWords account and we'll click create. I'm going to keep all these selected. And here we have these 8 new remarketing audiences at the top of our list. What's really neat about this audience pack is it starts you off with a very universal foundation for your remarketing audiences. It's segmenting out your remarketing audiences by traffic source. So for example, the direct audience is going to be anybody who came to your website initially from direct, which means somebody typing in your website URL into their browser. You're going to have anybody coming to your website from display, from organic search, from a different channel, from paid search, from referral, from remarketing, from social. Anybody who came to your website from Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, whatever it may be, they're going to be tagged as coming from social. So that's how we would go into the social audience, click on edit. We'll see the default channel grouping exactly matches social. And because this audience builder is so huge, and if we scroll down here, there's well over 100 different ways you could segment out your website visitors just using the Google Analytics data. It's tremendous. There's an endless amount of different variables, and it could easily get quite overwhelming. These lists that we're importing from the gallery could make your life a lot easier. And I'm showing this to you not to be used as a shortcut. It's not the lazy man's way out of remarketing. Just importing these from the gallery is not going to be enough to start running profitable AdWords campaigns. Of course, you need to still take into account who your audience is, where they are in the funnel, what is the goal of this remarketing audience, what steps do you want people to take after clicking a remarketing ad, what step of the funnel do you want them to be in after being exposed to these remarketing ads. So you still need to take all that into account as you're creating your remarketing campaigns and your remarketing audiences inside Google Analytics. But the beautiful thing about importing these lists from a gallery is, once again, it gives you that basic foundation, that basic place to start. So I definitely recommend you at least downloading or importing the channels pack and the engagement pack. Both of them are from the Google Analytics team themselves, and they're excellent. We've saved a lot of time and energy in setting this up for a lot of our clients, and then further going in and modifying these audiences to fit the exact needs of your specific business, of your specific marketing goals. So I hope you found this pretty interesting, and I hope this was a new tool that you guys didn't know about, and I hope you use it successfully and profitably and efficiently in your own Google Analytics accounts. Thank you very much for watching this one. We are just a few short lectures away from getting into AdWords and actually building and configuring our remarketing campaigns. And I'm looking forward to getting there with you all. It's definitely been a long road, but it's been an exciting one, and the finish line is thankfully in sight. So I look forward to talking to you all soon, in a few seconds, in the very next chapter.